Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. We kick off this program with a very compelling and important conversation with a New Jersey leader who definitely matters. He's Senator Paul Sarlo, Deputy Majority Leader in the Senate, also Chair of the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee. Senator, great to have you with us.
It's great to be with you, Steve.
I see the backdrop of the Senate chamber, important discussions going on there, either remotely or in person. Senator, let me ask you this about our fiscal situation. You've said you're worried about New Jersey, quote, falling off a fiscal cliff. A, what does that mean? And B, please talk about the idea you have for a budget, a 2 to 3 year budget plan. First, the fiscal cliff. What does that mean?
Okay, well, first of all, great. It's always good to be back with you, Steve, and we can't wait to get back into that chamber. We're starting to do more and more back in person. We started last summer, so we're excited to get back into the chamber full time. Steve, listen, unprecedented amount of federal dollars are flowing into our states, into our counties, into our towns. Unprecedented and clearly needed. Surely it was a shot in the arm during this pandemic. We went through 2 rounds of funding under the Trump administration, and now the latest round from the Biden administration, the American Rescue Plan, which we still don't have all the details. Clearly, there's a pent-up consumer demand. We've borrowed monies as well, federal dollars as well. We were nervous.
Was that a mistake, Senator? Was that a mistake to borrow billion, $4.2, $4.3 billion? The governor proposed it. You and your colleagues in the legislature supported it. But now New Jersey apparently is flush with money. Was that, in retrospect, Monday morning quarterback? We're actually taping Monday morning. Is it a mistake?
Well, listen, it's easy to be the Monday morning quarterback. At the time we actually borrowed the dollars, we were in dire need. There was all of the economists were forecasting that it was going to take 2 to 3 years to come out of this. I don't think they realized the pent up consumer demand. Clearly, the economy has rebounded much quicker than we originally thought. Would we still have borrowed the dollars? Perhaps we would have scaled back that number from the $4 billion mark. We cannot look back at this point in time. That goes to your question is, what do? We have this unprecedented amount of federal dollars. We have the borrowed funds. We have an economy that is rebounding. We need to plan for 2 to 3 years. We cannot be a bunch of folks who are looking at a 1 year budget. It needs to be the 2 to 3 year budget. I am concerned about a fiscal cliff. I am concerned about inflation 2 to 3 years from now. The last thing I want to be able to be is sitting in that chamber as the Senate Budget and Appropriations Chairman and to be able to say to my colleagues or to my constituents, more importantly, my colleagues, my constituents, we've received all these federal dollars, we've borrowed these monies, and now inflation is hit and the economy is taking a tank and the fiscal cliff is here. Can't happen. I'm not going to allow it to happen. We need to do a long-term plan. Forget elections, long-term fiscal planning, which includes paying down debt.
Well, let's talk about this. By the way, we're taping on the 10th of May. It'll be seen later. So the context of my question will be very clear. So this is May 10th. It is so unpredictable, Senator. Obviously, no one predicted this pandemic and a whole range of other things that have happened connected to COVID. So how the heck can you have a 2 to 3 year budget plan when there's so much uncertainty moving forward? Months, weeks, days, if not years.
Good question. A couple points. First of all, the fiscal year budget that we will be adopting in the coming weeks by June 30th will not include any of the American Rescue Plan dollars. There'll be none of them. We are not going to include them. I think we have that agreement. There's number one. Number two is part of the Horizon reorganization plan. There is a couple $100 million there, not part of this budget.
Excuse me, Horizon is an underwriter of what we do. I just want to disclose that as the senator is talking. Please, Senator, pick up your point.
Okay, so the Horizon reorganization plan that we had adopted last year is a couple $100 million that will be
into the state. That money comes into the state, right?
Right. We are not going to be using that as part of this year's budget. With regards to our surplus this year, it will be and should be much larger than it has been in previous years to ensure we have an ample surplus for next year that could kick some of those ARP dollars out to the following year and put a plan together
ARP,
begin to-
American Rescue Plan. correct?
American Rescue Plan. Sorry on the acronyms, sir.
That's okay. In government, there are just a few.
There are more than I could imagine, more than I like to
it.
imagine. The other part is on the debt. We need to look at long-term of how do we pay down debt. I'm a little disappointed in the administration that the $4.3 billion that we borrowed from the federal government was non-callable debt. So we need to look
explain that to folks, because non-callable, can't they use some of that money to pay down on the debt, or can't they give it back?
So you can't pay down the debt on those borrowed funds. However, you could use dollars to pay down other debt that is from previous years that has high interest payments. So we're going to take a hard look at paying that debt down, not just in this current fiscal year, but for the next 2 fiscal years. So there are many steps that we could take for 2 to 3 years. And finally, now's not the time to create new programs. Now's not the time. Let's shore up our finances. Let's make sure we get dollars to the people that need it, some of our most vulnerable citizens. But now's not the time to create a whole new host of programs. And I know that's hard for some of my colleagues. You know, we've always talked, I am a very moderate, fiscal, conservative Democrat, but now's not the time to create a bunch of new programs.
Let me ask you this about small businesses. We've had New Jersey Business and Industry Association, different Chamber of Commerce representatives, people in the business community. 30+% of small businesses have closed as of this date. Do you believe that the state of New Jersey is doing enough to support small businesses, and what exactly should that support look like, Senator?
So I think we've put the funding in place. We've done work through the EDA. The governor
Economic Development Authority.
Economic Development Authority. The governor just announced yesterday that there will be a significant amount of direct dollars for small businesses in the state of New Jersey. Are we doing enough? Listen, I think we're doing the best we can. My concern, though, is the bureaucracy of state government. We cannot allow the bureaucracy of state government to get in the way. Sometimes the bureaucrats get in the way of getting the money out the door. We need to get the money out the door and into the hands of these small business owners. Every day we procrastinate is another day that they're having a hard time to keep their doors open.
Real quick, got a minute left. Vaccine distribution, resistance, et cetera, connected clearly to the New Jersey economy, correct?
Collected clearly to our economy. I just had a conversation earlier today with the Commissioner of Health. I think the next step is now is the time to, I'm still a mayor of my community. Nobody knows my community better than me. I know everybody in my community. I know my folks. Now it's the time to get it into the communities, get it into the hands of the mayors. We can make it work, the logistics work. We know we could get it to our church groups, get it to our seniors. We could get it up at the Little League field and have them.
You're big into Little League, Senator. I've seen you coach for years.
I coached against you. Remember that?
I remember the game.
So we could get it into the hands of mayors. Mayors have a very, very good way of communicating with their folks through social media. There's a little bit of a trust. Secondly, is getting into the hands of doctors' offices. I believe primary care physicians, they've shied away from that across the country, need to get into the local doctor offices. People go in for their checkup, go in for their allergies, go in and let them convince them, please get the vaccine.
That is State Senator Paul Sarlo, Deputy Majority Leader, and he's chair of the very powerful and important Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee, a New Jersey leader who definitely matters. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. All the best.
Steve, it's always great to be with you.
You got it. I'm Steve Adubato. Stay with us. We'll be right back.